So dust collection on even a mid-tier commercial or prosumer saw is still really bad at best. And you can't really fault the manufacturers for that because, quite frankly, they're focused on performance, power, accuracy, and then price. If they could offer a saw that was $500 more, that was identical to, say, this unit, but had amazing dust collection, nobody would buy it. It's a very tight market. We're all price sensitive, so they put dust collection in that is sort of best effort, and it does get the finer particles, the stuff that we're not supposed to be breathing in. But I think we can do better, and I'm going to try a little experiment. So one of the drawbacks of the modern cabinet saw is you've got to be able to tilt the arbor to make your angled cuts. To make that possible, you have to have a wheel to adjust the height that can move through an arc. And to get that, you get a big gaping hole in the front of your saw. So you can only imagine what this does to your dust collection. Is you got your 4-inch port in the back, and it wants to build pressure up a feed tube to the saw itself. But this helps drop the pressure. So let's block this off and see if it changes the outcome any. That'd be pretty. Down to play with you, don't you? You think I'm coming down to play with you, don't you? So the next area we can look at is on the motor casing side. There's typically a series of vents. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So we're going to block these off and see what it does for the vacuum or the flow at the top. I'm not saying that we should block them off. I'm saying we're going to do it as a test, and then later on we'll decide, do we need all of them? Let's first determine what kind of an impact it is on the airflow that's getting to our cutting area, and then we'll decide which of these we ultimately need in the long run. Now the final big area we can address with the saw, again before we get back to do we need these vents, and if so how many vents do we need. At each corner there is a cutout, and it makes, if you add all 4 of them up, a rather substantial series of holes. So we're going to block these, test, and give it one last look to see if there are any other air leaks. And this won't be pretty, but it's for testing's sake. Now, do that 4 times and we'll test again. So we've seen over 100% increase with selectively closing off the air leaks in the saw. The largest is the front cutout so that the arbor can tilt. Now, if only there was a way we could keep that closed and be able to still tilt the saw. As it turns out, there's a really commonly available product that's used in your doors or garage doors. And what I'm going to do is fit this to that opening. Is it going to be as efficient as the tape? No, but we'll see what it measures out after we put this in. My plan is to make cuts here so that I can bend this to take the right shape and then adhere it. So we'll see how it goes. It's got a bump. Alright, so now to bend this we'll need some relief cuts. It's slippery. Okay. Your head's in the way. So how did the numbers work? The 4-inch hose by itself got 200 or 2,650 foot per minute air through. It's got roughly 12.5 square inches turned into cubic inches. At that foot rate, 0.87 cubic inches results in 231 cubic feet a minute, which is about right for my large cyclone dust collector going through the dust collection system at near the end of the run with some flex hose at the end. 231 CFMs, a pretty good number. So I trust what these numbers give us. But the numbers through the smaller hole don't really mean anything because the CFM is going to be very low because it's a small hole. But anyway, what they were, unmodified by itself when we started, 488 feet per minute, gives us 6 CFM. Now here's where we start to make the improvements. When we closed the front off, we jumped to 12 CFM out of the small hole. That was a 98% increase, which is, you could stop right there and you're good to go. The vents, however, closing the side vents off where the motor supposedly gets ventilation, only resulted in a 9% increase from the prior step. Probably not worth a lot doing, not worth a lot to do. Gain 1 CFM at the top on that 1.5 inch hole that I was testing out of. The big shocker was blocking the corners, picked up another 3 CFM at that 1.5 inch hole, which was a 27% increase. If you add them all up, all total, just the small minor changes resulted in 162% increase in CFM at the top. Is it large numbers? Well, we can't really tell with the small hole because the pressure of the system doesn't allow large CFMs through a 1.5 inch hole. But as you saw in the video, I did test just the open throat, and at the top after the changes, we were getting 142 CFM through that huge opening. So it's a big difference, and you can tell a qualitative difference when you feel the air flowing into the throat of the saw or through the cut for the zero clearance insert. Now, what's interesting too is putting the brush on had resulted in 14 CFM up top for the with the total, so it was down from 16. The total tweaked package was 16. When I went to the brush versus the tape, you lost a few CFM. Does it mean the brush is bad? No, it means it's permeable to air. And if you are looking for the absolute best CFM up top, then stick with the tape or some other permanent closeout method. Personally, I'm going to use the brush for a while and see how it works. With the brush, the end result is 130% improvement in the dust collection of the saw. We went from up top measuring 6 CFM to measuring 14 CFM. So let's take a look at actually how it looks and how it works in real life. So I got that. Not really much at all. I didn't expect 0, but overall I'm pretty pleased. Let me turn the fan off, maybe you can hear me. So that's what I got on the table. Yeah, there's a little bit here and there. But it is a doubling of the efficiency, and it really didn't cost much, and it really didn't take much time. Now we'll loop back to the question of I think it was the 5 vents for the motor. As you remember from the numbers, they really didn't matter. They didn't impact the CFM. So I have opened the bottom 2, not the top 2, because the way they're shaped, it will come up. So I've opened the bottom 2 to help with motor ventilation. But beyond that, a couple of small tweaks takes you an hour, and you'll get a lot better dust collection out of your table saw.